Hi everyone, welcome back to MTG Hacks. I was just looking over the decks that I've been playing, and I thought I would go with one that's a little bit more casual oriented, not super competitive. It's not anything that can dominate a field or be explosive, but I thought it was something that kind of get away from the norm a little bit. So it is Nahiri, the Lithomancer. It's one of the planeswalkers that could be a commander. The reason why I like Nahiri is because I really like the equipment package that you can build with it. So kind of read over what she does, and I've actually broken up the cards into functionality versus just CMC. So Nahiri's a 5-mana planeswalker, comes into play with 3 loyalty. You can +2 to put a 1/1 white core soldier token onto the battlefield. You may attach an equipment I control to it, which is really good. There's actually an amazing synergy with that ability. So I'll go through that once we run across it. Next thing is -2. You may put an equipment card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. Or you can -10, put a colorless equipment artifact token named Stoneforge Blade onto the battlefield. It has indestructibility. Equipped creature gets +5/+5 and double strike, and equips for 0. So an amazing package with this. We're going to go through the lands first. So all of them are just the planes right here. So there should be 28 of them. And then once we get a little bit more into this, I have a few non-basics, not very many, just because they don't serve the purpose. So number 1 is Emeria, the Sky Rune. Comes into the battlefield tapped. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 7 or more planes, you may return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and you can tap it for a white. So that's really good, especially in a mono white deck. Then you got the Castle. Taps for a white. You pay 1, tap it, prevent 2 damage that would be dealt to a legendary. Very small in a grand scheme of things, especially for Commander. I just like the card. Then I have Kor Haven. You could tap it for a colorless, or you can tap a white and a colorless and tap this. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by target attacking creature this turn. I like that a lot more than I do Maze of Ith or the any of the other kind of fog lands. I just like it a lot more overall. Then I got Nykthos, Shrine of the Nyx, just because it is a mono white deck, so I'm going to be running across a lot more white-oriented permanents there, and it's pretty foil. Then you got Windbreast Kites, once again, just kind of a good way to focus on the theme of the deck, which is attack, attack, and attack even more. High market, I don't like my friends stealing my stuff, so I sacrifice it if I need to. And then this is where we kind of get into what the base of the deck is. So I broke them down by equipments and then the functionalities of them. So Skull Clamp is probably one of the best combos in the deck, or synergies, I should say. So with Nahiri, you do the +2. Put a core token into play, equip the Skull Clamp to it, which gives it a +1/-1. When equipped creature dies, you draw 2 cards. So it equips a 1/1, which dies automatically, and you draw 2 cards. So this is one of the first cards that I typically search for, because I can always draw from it. So it provides lots of value. Then we have Sword of the Animist, just a good way to get lands out to keep up with those green ramp decks. Then we have the Jitte. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the first part of it, so I just call it Jit. But it's whenever equipped creature deals damage, put 2 charge counters on it. Remove a charge counter from the Jit. Do one of these 3 options. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. Target creature gets -1/-1 or gains 2 life. And you could do that any number of times. It's an activated ability with the number of charge counters. Then you got Lightning Greaves, kind of a no-brainer on those. Then we have each one of the swords. Sword of Fire and Ice gives the creature +2/+2 protection from blue and red. When it deals damage to a player, I get to deal 2 colorless damage and draw a card. Then the Sword of Light and Shadow, Pearl Black and White, gives 2/2. And then whenever it deals damage to a player, I gain 3 life and can return a creature card from my graveyard to my hand, which has been very valuable. Feast and Famine, 2/2, Pearl Black, Pearl Green. Deals damage to an opponent, they discard a card, and I untap all my lands. War and Peace is that they get dealt damage equal to the number of cards in their hand, and I gain life equal to the number of cards in mine. Gives the Pearl White and Red, +2/+2, of course. And then Body and Mind, definitely the weakest one of them. I do it dominantly for the color protections, but it's Pro Green, Pro Blue. I get a 2/2 Wolf, and then they mill 10 cards. Godsend, it's a white equipment, so it actually doesn't work as well with the swords because of Pro White. You can't equip this to it. But gives a equipped creature +3/+3. Whenever equipped creature blocks or becomes blocked, you can exile 1 creature. Big benefit to this, gets around Hexproof Shroud protection because it doesn't target. And then opponents can't cast the spell, can't cast spells with the same name as the exiled card with Godsend. Then I play the Kaldra package. So it's 3 to play, 2 to equip. Equipped creature gets first strike, trample, and haste. I can pay 1. If I have each of the Kaldra pieces, I get a 4/4 legendary avatar with the name Kaldra into play, and all of the Kaldra pieces equipped to it. So there's 1. This one gives the equipped creature +5/+5, and whenever equipped creature deals damage to a creature, it exiles it. And then this one gives all of the equipment pieces indestructibility, and then gives the equipped creature indestructibility. Each one of them has a unique cost. So the first one's 3 to play, 2 to equip. The sword is 4 to play, 4 to equip. And the shield is 4 to play, 4 to equip. So it's in there because I do play quite a few search cards in here, and it's just each one of them functions very well. Then I play Batterskull. 5 to play, 5 to equip. It's living weapon, so it comes in with a 0/0 black germ token equipped to it. And then equipped creature gets +4/+4 vigilance and lifelink, which has been very good. And you can bounce it back to your hand for 3. Argentum Armor, 6 to play, 6 to equip, 6/6. And then whenever equipped creature attacks, you get to destroy a permanent. So awesome. Now we're getting into just a few of the creatures that actually interact with the equipment very well. I'm not playing all of them, and you'll understand why in a minute. Leonin Shikari, so 2 to play, 2/2. You may equip anytime you can play an instant, so it's equip as an instant. Allows you to be able to equip that sword and give your creature protection from a color if they're trying to Swords of Plowshare or something like that. Then you got Pure Steel Paladin, 2 to play, 2/2. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under my control, I draw a card. Metalcraft makes it to where equipment becomes 0. If these two are on the battlefield together, you are able to do so much damage. It is ridiculous. Then I play Auriok Windwalker. It's a 4 mana, 2/3 flyer. You can tap it to equip an equipment I control to a creature I control. Enlightened Tutor just searches for an equipment or an artifact and then shuffles it and puts it on top of my library, so I'm able to grab some good cards. Still Shaper's Gift searches for an equipment, puts it in my hand. Open the Armory searches for an aura or equipment, reveals it, puts it in my hand. don't play any auras. Stoneforge Mystic searches for an equipment, revealed it, put it in my hand, and then I can pay 2, tap her to put an equipment from my hand onto the battlefield. So these are all the ones that affect me searching for equipment. Then we got Relic Seeker, 2 mana, 2/2 Renowned. Whenever Relic Seeker becomes renowned, you search your library for an equipment, reveal it, and put it in my hand. Then the Tajnar Swordsmith. It's when it comes into play, you can pay an additional X to search your library for an equipment with converted mana cost X or less and put it into the battlefield. So he's actually really good, kind of a little more costly, but it's one of those cards that you get a creature and you get an equipment, so it's a double package. Stonehewer is probably the strongest of the equipment searches, just because you can attach it to him, and he's still attacking, which is very fun. Now we're getting into some land corrections, because one of Mono White's biggest weaknesses is the fact that it doesn't ramp. So it is typically and historically behind the curve. I've actually tried and searched for a vast majority of cards that will help fix that. So Weathered Wayfarer is one of them. 1 mana, 1/1. You can tap him to search your library for any land, so basic or non-basic, and put it in my hand. I can only activate this if an opponent controls more lands than I do. Then you got Land Tax. During my upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than me, I could search for up to 3 basic lands, reveal them, put them in my hand. There's actually a cool little combo in this deck that uses that as well. Then Tithe, one of my favorite ones and probably one of the most underrated white search effects. It's 1 mana, it's an instant, search your library for a plains. Then if I control less lands than an opponent, I get to search my library for an additional plains, so 2 of them for 1 mana, reveal them, put them in my hand. One thing I want to clarify with this card is that it doesn't specify that it has to be a basic plains. So you can, in a 4/3/2 color deck, you can actually search for dual lands or shock lands with that. Then you got Knight of the White Orchid, 2 mana, 2/2, first strike. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than me, I search my library for a plains, put it into the battlefield. This one doesn't put it tapped, which is very nice. Then Kor Cartographer, 4 mana, 2/2. When it comes into play, I search my library for a plains, put it into the battlefield, tapped. Endless Horizons. I actually really love this card. So Endless Horizons, 4 mana. When it comes into play, I search my library for a number of plain cards and exile them. At the beginning of my upkeep, you may you may put one. I'm so sorry. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a card you own removed from the game with Endless Horizons into your hand. So the reason why I like this is that if you're playing against a deck that you know that doesn't have enchantment destruction, you remove all the planes from your deck, so you're actually getting really good draws. If you're playing against a deck that you would know would have some enchantment or artifact destruction, what you do is you search for about 5 to 10, depending on where you're at in the game. But then it always gives you 2 draws at your upkeep, 1 for the land and then 1 for your draw step. Now we're just getting into creatures where these equipments are being attached to. So you got Cathleon, which is an amazing planeswalker as well when he flips. It sucks that you lose the equipment at end of turn for him being equipped to it, but for 1 mana, 2/1, it's an effective creature. 8.5 Tails will protect my equipment and as well as my planeswalker, because you can pay 2 mana, target permanent you control gains protection from white until end of turn. You could pay 1, target spell or permanent becomes white. So 3 mana, you can protect anything on the field as long as it's not a global destruction. But it's 2 mana for a 2/2, and he's a Fox Cleric, which is awesome. Then you play Containment Priest, 2 mana, 2/2, flash. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. Since I don't do any shenanigans, I want to make sure my opponents don't do any shenanigans. Same with Aven Mindcensor, 3 mana, flash, flying, 2/1. If an opponent would search their library, that player searches the top 4 cards of their library instead. Then you got Brimaz, which is 3 mana, 3/4 vigilance. When it attacks, you get another 1/1 white cat soldier with vigilance onto the battlefield attacking. And when it blocks, it does the same thing for blocking. So, great value creature. Mirran Crusader is probably one of the strongest ones with an equipment because he already has double strike, pro black, and green. If you put on Sword of Fire and Ice, he actually has protection from everything except for white. And when he deals damage to them, he does it twice, so you get 2 activations of the swords. Commander Eesha, which is 4 mana for a 2/4 flying bird soldier that has protection from creatures. So no matter what you equip to this, it's value. Linvala provides just, once again, since I don't do a lot of shenanigans, I want to make sure my opponents don't do them, and that's where Linvala comes in. It's 4 mana, 3/4, flying. Activated abilities of creatures your opponents control cannot be activated. Kind of the same concept with Hero of Bladehold and Brimaz is the fact that it's 4 mana for a 3/4 battle cry. Whenever Hero of Bladehold attacks, put 2 1/1 white soldier tokens onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. You stack this to where the creatures will come in first, then you battle cry. Battle cry says whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0. So when these come out, these tokens, they're actually 2 1s tapped and attacking, which is awesome. Then you got Archangel of Tithes. 4 mana, 3/5 flying. As long as Archangel is untapped, creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. And the same for blocking. As long as she's attacking, they have to pay 1 for each blocking creature. Angel of Jubilation, probably one of my favorite angels, honestly. 4 mana, 3/3 flying. Other non-black creatures you control get 1/1. Players cannot pay life or sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. With this on the battlefield, fetch lands are useless. With this on the battlefield, Diabolic Intent is useless. There's actually a lot of cards that this actually will prohibit. Then you got Solemn Simulacrum. I could have put him under the land search, but I put him under just creatures because he is an artifact creature. So he provides a little bit of evasion in that sense, especially if my opponents have pro-white. This will actually get around that. Then you got Baneslayer Angel, 5 mana, 5/5 flying angel. First strike, lifelink, pro-demons, and pro-dragons. Deathless Angels, it's 5/7 for 6, flying. You could pay 2 white to give target creature indestructibility. One thing that I've done in this in a political game is that I've actually kept a few of my opponent's creatures from dying. And this card works very well with the Sword of the Animist because it's 6 mana, 6/6 with landfall. So whenever a land enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-land permanent other than Admonition Angel. When Admonition Angel leaves, return all cards exiled with it to the battlefield under their owner's control. So with the Sword of the Animist, you can actually end up really devastating a field. Then we got some kills. Swords of Plowshares, kind of a no-brainer. Path to Exile. Counselor's Judgment. I've already explained my views on this, which is such an amazing card. Crib Swap. Now we got some global, which is Akroma's Vengeance. Wrath of God, Austere Command, and Final Judgment. Then we got a little bit of Artifact Ramp, not very much, but we got Soul Ring. We got Pearl Medallion, because, yes. And then we got Extraplanar Lens. This one's kind of a hit or miss on this, because when Extraplanar Lens comes into the battlefield, you exile a land you control. And then whenever a land with the same name is tapped for mana, it adds an additional mana. So since all mine are plains, any plains would tap for 2. I don't like snow covered personally. Granted, this is where this would shine the most. Then Gauntlet of Power, 5 mana. As it comes into play, choose a color. Creatures of the chosen color get 1/1. And whenever a basic land is tapped for mana, it adds an additional. One thing to clarify with Gauntlet of Power, it gives it to every player. Then you have Mind's Eye, which is whenever an opponent would draw a card, I could pay 1 and draw a card with them. I put Sensei's Divining Top under the draw, even though it's like deck manipulation pseudo draw, but yeah. Then Mentor of the Meek is counted under draw because he never gets equipped with anything, but it's 3 mana, 2/2. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters battlefield under my control, I could pay 1 mana to draw a card. It actually works really well with Nahiri's +2, because then you +2, draw a card, kill it with Skull Clamp. You just got 3 cards for 1 mana. It's always nice. Then you have Scroll Rack. Is 2 mana, 1 to activate. Choose any number of cards in your hand and set those aside. Put an equal number of cards from the top of your library into your hand. Then put the card set aside in this way on the top of your library in any order. This card actually works amazingly well with land tax, because then it's guaranteeing that you're getting a land every turn, and you're able to throw away, technically, on average, 2 to 3 lands to get new cards. And especially with your shuffling effect, you're not getting the same stuff. Then we just value cards right here, just a few of them. They don't really fit in any category. True Conviction, 6 mana. Creatures you control have double strike and lifelink, which is why would you not want that? Return to Dust, exile an artifact or an enchantment. If I cast it during my main phase, I get to exile an additional artifact or enchantment. Then Gideon, which he is so amazing. I love Gideon. 5 mana, 6 loyalty, +2. During target opponent's next turn, creatures that player control attack Gideon if able. Or you can -2 to destroy target tapped creature. Or 0 until end of turn. Gideon becomes a 6/6 human that is still a planeswalker. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to him. So he works very well. Alright guys, well that's actually the deck overall. Just to clarify with that, this deck is actually a little bit more casual, running into a bigger game, especially with highly competitive players. This deck doesn't do as well, but if you're just looking for some fun and to engage a good group and to get some good synergy, Nahiri is the way to go. As always, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.